welcome to Deconstructing Bill Murray. I am Frank, and with me, as always, we got Ray McGuff. And our
Hello.
guest today, you may know him from the world of war wrestling as Ripper Blackhart. You also may know him as Corey Grant. Either way, you say it's basically the same.
Yeah,
person.
I'm an asshole either ways.
But we're going to talk about Caddyshack today. 1980, directed by Harold Ramis, written by Brian Doyle Murray, Harold Ramis, and Douglas Kenney, who, if you don't know who that is, he's the co-founder of National Lampoon, and he wrote on Animal House. He actually killed himself. I think he killed himself. It was either an accident or he killed himself.
I think he did, because they just did a movie about
Right.
that, about the whole National Lampoon's, how it got started and all that. And I believe
They leave it up in the air. Basically, they found his shoes on a cliff.
That is it. That's it.
Yeah.
He was really depressed after this movie came out because evidently they totally butchered the original story in the editing room. And he hated the gopher, which is the one thing I do kind of agree with him on. That's the thing I don't like about this movie.
It hasn't aged well. I'll give you that. Yeah.
I don't know if I ever liked the gopher part.
I accept it for the ridiculously that it. The thing about Caddyshack is it's almost like there's two movies going on at the same time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have the the golf tournament and the kid, and all his troubles and all that. And then you have the Bill Murray and the gopher. And they are two separate movies. And then you got the little crossing point with Chevy Chase and Bill Murray there. And then they don't connect again until the very end, the grand finale.
I think
these two stories merge into one.
I think what happened was, if you look at the IMDb trivia on this movie, it's like page after page. It's so extensive. And some of the stuff I read was that what happened was, Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Rodney Dangerfield, they were supposed to be smaller characters. And then they just started improvising a lot, and it was killing. And they just started taking the movie in a different direction altogether, focusing more on them. And one of the things I read was that Harold Ramis had such a hard time directing Rodney Dangerfield because Rodney Dangerfield had no idea how movies were made. So
he was still just a stand-up comic at this point, not a whole lot of.
So they would go to like hit the scene, and Harold Ramis would say action, and Rodney Dangerfield would just sit there and not do anything. And he finally said to him, Rodney, what are you doing? When I say action, you're supposed to do the scene. And he's like, oh, you mean just do my bit? And he's like, yeah. So it ended up he had to tell. That's how he had to direct him, was say, Rodney, do your bit, and then he would fucking just go hog wild. I think that's one of the coolest things about this movie is all the improvised stuff. It's crazy. The summary for this film doesn't even do it justice. It says an exclusive golf course has to deal with a brash new member and a destructive dancing gopher. That doesn't touch on half the shit that happens in this.
No, because the Bill Murray stuff stole the movie.
Right.
And when I was a kid and we was watching this, there was only two things we cared about. Was the Bill Murray stuff and the boobs.
Right.
We didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about the golfing in it or any of that.
The one thing I read.
Sorry.
Did you read the thing? Did you read the trivia, Randy?
I read a little bit. I skimmed through it. I didn't read all of it. There's a lot. You're right.
The thing about the woman that exposes her boobs in this movie, she didn't want to do it at all. And Harold Ramis was on the phone with her at one point and was like, kind of, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, kind of like being a nice guy about it and stuff. And then the one producer guy got on the phone and was like, you have to do this. If you don't do it, you won't work in Hollywood again. He pulled that move on her. So that's kind of a dark shadow.
Well, she did it, and she didn't do it. Ain't like she did a whole lot after that.
It was very brief.
I remember she was in the TV series with Bruce Boxleitner, Bring 'Em Back Alive. The reason I know this, I can't remember. Frank, what was his name? Frank Buck, I think was his name, was a real guy. Used to go to Africa, capture the animals to the zoos and whatnot back in the 40s or whatnot. My dad, big history buff. That's the only reason I knew about who that character was or even watch that show. So, and I don't remember her in anything else after that.
Right. Yeah, I think I read that she quit shortly after. Regardless, though, I mean,
she's like a bombshell in this. Like the first time I watched this movie, that's what you're focusing on her the minute she shows up.
Well, they definitely.
Like, my God.
Well, yeah, she's braless too.
Oh yeah, very.
She's walking in with the tightest shirt she could possibly wear. Braless.
It might as well have been made of like paper towel. It was so nothing.
Like I said, I was in junior high the first time.
Yeah,
we watched this movie.
That's when I saw it.
We weren't supposed to be watching.
No.
Right.
But, we got cable in the early '80s, and I live in a little podunk town that makes you guys' town look big.
Well,
so I should say something. And we didn't get cable till like in the early mid '80s. In the summertime, we had no adult supervision. That's right. In the summertime in the '80s, parents would go to work and just leave their kids to run the neighborhoods until they got home.
That's true. Yeah, and you'd run into things like this and Porky's and Porn in the Woods. That was always everybody.
And I rewatched Caddyshack today, and
me too.
Saying I know I've seen Tony in something else.
Yeah.
I know I've seen the guy plays Tony something else, so I had to Google him, and sure enough, he's in all the Porky movies.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
You're right.
I was thinking it was Meatballs too, or something like that.
I thought it was Meatballs too, but it wasn't. I thought he was the one in Meatballs, but he's not. He's not the one.
See, I thought it was some kind of horror movie because I remembered. I thought it was in a camp or something. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing about it coming out in the 80s, it's really crazy that a movie like this, the only thing that I saw that doesn't really hold up today would be like not in a movie today was when they're smoking weed at one point and one of the guys says, "I got it from a Negro." Like that's the one thing. The only thing.
That's how he knew it was good. That's how he knew it was good.
Hey, what kind of shit is this? It's the best, man. I got it from a Negro. You're probably so high already, you don't even know it. Really?
But it was like, I mean, for a 1980s comedy like this, to come out with that being the worst thing that's said, I mean, that's crazy. But I mean, you got the Kenny Loggins theme song; it kicks it right in.
Iconic.
And is there a better guy to write movie soundtracks in the '80s? Kenny Loggins. I mean, Caddyshack.
The funniest thing I saw was that
Over the Top.
Yeah. Ramis wanted Pink Floyd for this originally.
Really?
Wow.
What would that be like? I mean, that doesn't even make sense to me.
No.
Yeah, like when she's walking out at the pool scene, you got it. Can you imagine any other song? Like a Pink Floyd song, Comfortably Numb, playing over that? What the fuck would that be?
Another brick in the wall? What?
Yeah. This movie was I would have liked to seen like the original version of this movie with the smaller parts just to see what it would look like. The smaller parts because Bill Murray's character was supposed to be mute. He was supposed to be like Harpo Marx evidently in the original version of this. So but he just came in and started doing amazing stuff. I think the scene where he's hitting the flowers, the legendary scene. He did
Green. Oh yeah, the Cinderella story.
Cinderella's story. That was all. He did that whole thing just based off of 2 pieces of direction from Ramis. It was like, that he just came up with that, and the pitchfork scene where he's got that pitchfork against the guy's throat.
And it's like he's really pressing it up against him.
And he's laughing at one part and clearly terrified.
He said that he was terrified because that was a real pitchfork. I was like, God damn. No, I mean, Bill Murray is very not the person you want wielding a pitchfork. I mean, I'm sure he's cool, but
and the way he says Dalai Lama. Yeah. And so the Lama says, Lama says.
Some of the biggest laughs in this movie for me are smaller things, though. The first one for me is at the beginning when they're in this chaotic house. It's Danny's house. There's like 17 kids running around. The dad has no idea who his own nephew is. He like turns this kid around. I laugh so. That's your nephew.
He's like, who are you? And he's like, Kevin. He's like, Hey Doris, who's this kid?
Yeah, you know, and I like Chevy Chase is solid gold through this whole thing. This is like peak Chevy Chase. Whenever he first, the first scene he's in with Danny, he calls him Betty. I laughed like crazy at that. He fumbles around, drops his clubs. Perfect Chevy Chase. Like,
well, for years, you know, and you get so many catchphrases off of movies, and you have your circle of friends that you watch. Like, we constantly did the "thank you very little" shit all the time. Thank you very little.
Yes, that was amazing. Thank you very little.
Yeah, he does the whole "be the ball" sequence.
Yeah, we used to do the shit all the time.
Danny, see your future.
Yeah,
the ball.
but you know, even outside of like, you know, these hilarious guys, Rodney Dangerfield's great. You know, he's just, they don't make people like him anymore.
Ted Knight.
Yeah,
Ted Knight.
Yeah. Ted Knight's hilarious.
Facial expressions that Ted Knight does.
When he's
funnier than the lines that he delivers.
When he's angry and he's yelling, it's the best.
Well, we're waiting. I lose it every time.
Yeah, the judge is great. Carl, of course, is amazing. Bill Murray. I love that they've given him the character trait that he loves old women, and he's just. And I think they did that with Dan Aykroyd in the second one too.
Yeah.
Let's not. We can't talk about that second one. Actually paid money and went to the movies to go see that.
I like it.
So angry. So angry.
I have fun with it, but I don't know.
It's such a far cry. If it wasn't for Randy Quaid.
Yeah, Randy Quaid is amazing in that.
I still call people Alfonso Noon. So I use it.
Yeah. I think there's a couple things that are highlights for me in this movie. One of them is Spaulding, the grandson of the judge. I love every time he's in the background, turds, double turds, and then he gets angry. The judge gets angry at him. There's one point where he's just chopping at the green, just hitting dirt and yelling shit in the background. The little things that happen in this movie are amazing.
And another favorite part of ours when we used to watch as a kid, we'd always go around and say, "I want a hamburger, no cheeseburger. I want a hot dog." And Ted Knight's like, "You'll get nothing and like it."
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones. He's like, "You're gonna go golfing," and he goes, "I don't want to go golfing. What about my asthma?" And he's like, "I'll give you asthma."
I even did my wife come walking in when I was watching that scene where he's like, "I want the cheeseburger," and I did it right with Ted Knight. I was like, "You'll get nothing, I like it." And she's like, "How can you remember that shit from that far ago?" I'm like, "You remember?" I said, "You have no idea how many times me and my friend Steve Fleiker watched Caddyshack over a summer. Yeah. It was ridiculous."
This was one that I rented so often back in the VHS days that it was one of those if you couldn't find nothing else, just grab Caddyshack. You know, it was right there with Ghostbusters. You know, anything, just one of those classics.
You guys are considerably younger than me.
I was born in '82, so
81. Yeah, almost a decade between me and you. 73. When I was young, I knew of Bill Murray, I knew of Chevy Chase, and the only thing I'd seen of them before this movie was old Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Clips. So this was the first actual movie I saw Bill Murray. I may have saw the movie Foul Play with Chevy Chase and Goldie Hawn before this one, Chevy Chase, but this was the first movie that I got to see Bill Murray.
Oh yeah.
And Rodney Dangerfield. That's the first time I ever saw Rodney Dangerfield in anything.
Yeah.
At that point.
Let's talk about him for a minute, because like I said, they don't make people like him anymore. I love it when he dances. It doesn't make sense. I don't know if they must not have had any music going. I don't know. He's just going at it.
He's so white. He's the only white guy.
Yeah, his outfits are crazy as shit. I don't know what that style is, but
it can't be a style. I've never seen anyone dress like that. But in
But
this
I
movie.
did do back in the 80s, though. I'd
yeah,
man.
I bet it rolled around. You'd see those guys hang out at bowling alleys and shit. I bet
Yeah.
back in the day, but they just don't cut those kind of people out, out in the world anymore. But he did a great job for never being in a movie, just doing his bit, I guess, or whatever he considered it,
Well, Frank, that he's my all-time favorite comedian. Like,
yeah.
I've read all like his biography, all of his backstories. I've watched documentaries about. I love the guy, and I mean, he was a genius. My favorite thing about him is that he wanted to be a comedian, went off, tried it, failed, went and did some other shit for a while, and in real life sold siding for houses and stuff. And
Can
then
you imagine that?
Yeah, and then had an idea to do one-liners as fast as he could, and went back on and in his 40s, like 5 years older than I am right now, came back and became the world's biggest comedian in the 80s and 90s. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, he had a special on HBO. Like I said, after this, and we got cable, every year he had a young comedian special on HBO.
Right.
And, and we watched it. Me and my buddies would find a time to watch the Rodney Dangerfield specials all the time.
Yeah, he discovered Roseanne Barr,
Sam Kinison,
Andrew
Dice Clay.
Exactly. And mentored those people. Like, that was the cool thing about him. In his biography, he said he never really wanted that level of fame that he attained. So when he got it, he would go, hey, I saw this guy, he deserves that. And he would bring him along, or this lady. So, but in this movie, though, specifically, my favorite line, real quick, I wrote it down so I got it right. But he's like, hey, Wang, don't tell, this place is really exclusive. Don't tell me you're Jewish. Little Asian dude's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, he's great. Well, like I said, a lot of the smaller things really made me laugh in this. There's this character. He's old as hell. His name's Mr. Haverkamp. R.I.P. I guarantee you he's dead. But he's like so befuddled and confused. He swings a club, completely misses it.
He's on fire today.
Yeah, the whole sequence of events is he swings this club, misses the ball completely. His wife's in the right by the lake. She just plunks one right in it and says, and he says,
"That's a peach, son."
He says, then he hits one directly into a tree. It says,
"Oh, golly, I'm hot today."
Yeah,
I'm like this. I'm fucking losing it. I don't know. That's just. I don't know if kids today would think that's hilarious. I don't know. I don't know if you saw what the kids are watching on the YouTubes, but it's real dumb shit. My kids are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, my favorite part always, because I am sucker for wordplay.
Yeah.
If you can make it clever, but when the head groundskeeper tells him he wants him to kill the gophers, and he's like, Bill Murray's like, excuse me if I'm wrong, but if I kill all the golfers, they're gonna lock me up and throw away the key.
Yeah.
Like, not all the golfers. I lose it that part every time. And another bit with the bishop playing in the monsoon.
Yeah.
He's like, "What do you think,
like, Your Majesty and stuff?"
Yeah. And we, like I said, as kids, we did this shit all the time. Whenever it started raining, we were doing something. You go, I don't think the heavy stuff's gonna come down for quite some time yet.
Yeah, it was like downpouring.
And then they're like, they're like this, trying to walk against the wind and shit.
Yeah.
And then that guy is later, he's at the bar drinking, and he's like, there is no God.
Grown a whole beard in that amount of time, too. Like, he's got a whole beard now. I'm just a man.
I'm just a man. I'm Kevin.
I think that the thing about this movie is that all the characters, no matter what the scenario is, they all work together so well. It's just like, and then you finally get Chevy Chase and Bill Murray together, and that whole scene is just,
oh man,
cannonball.
Yeah.
And a bullet.
He had that Bob. He calls it a Bob Marley.
Bob Marley joint.
Yeah. He goes, well, what do you think of the place? Oh, it is just awful.
He's like, I'm going to clean up. I think it's fine, but you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
What you ask him, where you live at over there? And he tells me, yeah, it's 2.
Yeah, that whole thing, and the cool thing about that is that there was like an old story that Chevy Chase and Bill Murray had like a fight or something on SNL days.
Yeah, that was
like,
a real story, man.
Like a whole thing involving John Belushi, I think, was mixed into it somehow. But
Chevy Chase cold-cocked John Belushi, like sucker punched him. And so Bill Murray beat the shit out of Chevy Chase right there.
Yeah,
this is like on SNL's lot. So, and then they always hated each other, apparently, but I guess they worked together from time to time.
Money talks.
Yeah. But if you think about just the amount of scenes we've already talked about in this movie, they're all like famous scenes in movie history. And we haven't even talked about the Baby Ruth in the pool.
Oh, my God.
Like, I mean, the whole golfing tournament's great too. I mean, that whole end.
And you talked about all the other, even the little characters, like the doctor.
Yeah,
that's the judge's partner. He has some very good lines in it. The judge's wife, when she pulls out this loofah and asks if come wash my stretch marks.
But he's like, oh, okay, dear. He's trying to do the voice.
He's like, and she looks and sees him, and then she's kind of like,
yeah, I mean, it's just a solid movie overall.
And what about Maggie, you guys? What are your feelings on Maggie?
Strangely attractive.
Yeah, she's like a couple of times I'm like, oh, her feet's dirty.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. It's like, should the camera guy like kind of like not so we could see her dirty ass feet?
I mean, I'm like, I'll have sex with almost any situation with a lady, but I'd be like, washing dirty ass feet. That's a nice bed.
It wasn't just a little bit dirty.
No,
these were some filthy goddamn feet.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's weird though. Like if you think about, we watched Meatballs. We did Meatballs on a previous episode, and the love interest in that one was really mediocre. Like as far as you remember, what was her name? I can't remember. The one Bill Murray was hooked up with, the one that Bill Murray raped in that movie or whatever. He didn't rape her, but
be with him for like 90% of the movie, and then at the end she's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, but it's just weird choices.
You wore me down
for these weird choices for these love interests, because they had, I don't know, they had the one chick. I guess they do hook up though. I don't know. That's the one he wanted. I don't whatever.
Well, that's the thing about Danny. I was like, well, Danny. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ray.
Danny clearly is like, I've got one option. And then he had two options.
Yeah.
And it was like, I like option 2 a lot.
Yeah.
And then option 1 comes back, it's like, I might be pregnant.
Yeah, weird.
I was like, this time around, I'm like, oh man, Danny's got a lot of chick problems in this movie. I forgot.
Yeah. Well, and then it's funny because like he gets advice from Chevy Chase. Like he really needs advice. He needs some serious advice, and the advice he gets from Chevy Chase is just terrible. It's all around just terrible.
One of the first lines in the movie is like, "Danny, do you do drugs every day?" Yeah, good job.
Good job. And the world's still bad. Yeah, it's still terrible.
And he's trying to talk the kid out of not going to college. Don't go to college.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like, "What's wrong with lumberyards? I own 2 of them." And he's like, "I see that you're not there ever."
Yeah,
fair point.
I don't know where they're at.
Really.
Yeah. I mean, this is a 10 out of 10 as far as movies go. There's nothing but good times to be had with Caddyshack. Rodney's terrible dancing, the nostalgia of this time period makes me want to go back to this time period and hang out for a little while.
You know what I found interesting is you notice the one caddy bag, the golf bag, it was a Winston cigarette.
Was
bag.
it?
Oh yeah.
And then one of the other ones I believe was one of the beers, like one of the high end beers.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm like, well, you just don't see that shit anymore like
that. Well, the Rodney Dangerfield's bag has a keg in it. He has this dude carrying a keg around.
Yeah.
And it's it made me want to drink that beer. I really wanted that Budweiser. I was like, give me some of that 1980s Budweiser out of Rodney. I want to hang out there.
I love this putter.
Yeah.
Albert Einstein gave me this.
I'm like, what, like a damn pirate telescope thing on that? Or?
And I had like a computer chip that was mapping out where to go. Yeah. I just want to say one more thing too. Speaking of Chevy Chase, though, he had to me one of the funniest lines that this time around. It caught me. I've heard it before, but this one made me laugh really hard. Right. It's when they're the hot chick and him are on the balcony at the party, and she's saying all this weird shit. Want to tie me up with your ties, Ty? And he's like, "How about we're just? How about we pretend that we're just two regular people?" And it really got me this time. Like, I was laughing so hard because he kisses her right on the forehead. I don't know. It's just something about it got me.
That weird shit. Oh God. I mean,
and that's just it. It's not just in your face comedy. There's so much little subtle shit.
Oh yeah.
In this music, in this movie, that if you go back and you're like, "Oh, I didn't catch that the first time," or
right.
Yeah. This is one of those movies you always see something new. I mean, because they did take more care in the 80s, to put stuff in the background, to put little things that they don't do that as much anymore, I don't think, and
people's attention spans aren't what they used to be either.
Yeah, that's true.
If it ain't right there in front of them.
I have been disappointed so many times, but trying to get my kids to like into something, and they're like, nah, it's not really for me or whatever, but what can you do?
Well, you got younger.
Did I freeze up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you froze up a little bit. Yeah, you're back then.
All right.
Yeah, but my kids are older now, so now they're starting to get into stuff like kind of stuff I did. My daughter always was into the kind of music that I grew up on, the hair metal of the 80s, and my son not so much, but like he's an English major now in college, so he's going back. And one of the things they do is film study.
Mm-hmm.
So he's asked me about Blazing Saddles the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't remember the name of it, so he's telling me about the movie. I'm like, that's Blazing Saddles. He's like, oh, they said they talk about how they break the fourth wall through the whole entire movie and all that stuff like that. So he's starting to get into some of these films.
Mm-hmm.
Like I Love, that back in the day he would have been like totally bored, trying to sit through and watch.
Yeah,
probably like this one.
Yeah. This would I don't think my kids would get into this because it's not a movie you can really explain to people why it's so good in a short amount of time. It's not like you can be like, yeah, well, it's like how do you even start? It's about a cat. It's about a Caddyshack. There's caddies, but you got these hilarious characters. There's not a short form way to just explain it to somebody, especially not a kid who's already out the room by the time you get through the.
We lost Ray.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know what to do about that, but we're done anyways. So I guess we can just wrap it up. When's War coming back? You guys
the Athletic Commission meets June 9th.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what their decision is whatsoever about pro wrestling in Ohio, because none of them, no wrestling has been taking place in Ohio since February. Their War's first event back in Lima,
September, right?
Well, September at the usual place, the Bradfield Community Center, but the St. Gerard's Festival goes on.
Oh.
In August, I believe, we're scheduled to be at that one of the days.
You guys all itching to get back at it?
Dude, everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody's chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of what the WWE has done. I watched WrestleMania. Weird, but I liked it. I mean, I liked some of it anyways.
I think they blew their wad the first night. The first night was way better than the second night.
Yeah, I didn't make it all the way through the second night because I didn't hear good things about that John Cena match at the end there.
Yeah, I didn't. It is what it is.
Yeah, and after watching the Undertaker thing, I was kind of like, what? what are you doing? There was some stuff that was real funny in that,
but that was salvageable. That what they did with Cena and Wyatt, I didn't.
Yeah.
Not my thing. Now I think AEW does amazing with their empty arena stuff, and now that WWE's trying to finally mimic what they're doing is where they have the talent. They have talent out there on the other side of the rails watching the matches and reacting. They throw the heels on one side, the faces on the other.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah,
and
that's
then
cool.
Sometimes when it gets outside the ring, there's some little interaction that sets up for the next week and shit like that. So
that's really cool. I'll definitely be looking forward to getting to another show. It's always a good time to see you guys do your thing. Oh, we got Ray back. Ray's actually been to a couple. Well, he went to a lot of them with me last year over at Bradfield because he was living over here for about a year. But you back, Ray?
Hey, sorry about that. My internet went down.
Oh no!
So I had to switch over to my. Sorry.
I have that shit happen here in the like every day from sometime from 2:00 p.m. and sometimes it can last up to an hour where it just drops in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, it kept telling me no signal, so I had to switch over to my phone stuff. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, we're wrapping up. We were just talking about War coming back as soon as they can come back and do their thing over there.
Good, man. Yeah, as soon as it does, I'll be there. I'm bringing some people with me too from Columbus.
Oh. There he goes. He froze up again. Oh, well.
Poor Ray McGuff.
He's having a hard time. Anyways, we might as well wrap this up. What we're doing next month is Stripes. So
another great one.
We're just going right through them. I see in the future we're going to be hitting some rough patches, but either for every Caddyshack there's a elephant movie, whatever.
Might I suggest one? Might I suggest one that isn't on everybody's list?
Well, we're going right through all of them. So,
are you?
Yeah.
So are you familiar with Quick Change?
Yes, I love that movie.
That's such an underrated movie.
Yeah.
Right, like what the fuck?
Sorry, guys. This fucking thing, I'll tell you, it never does this to me.
Is everything all right in Columbus? Or?
I hope so.
Yeah. Welcome back, Ray. We were just winding up. I was telling everybody we're gonna watch Stripes next month.
Cool.
But yeah. Anything else you got going on? You got a Schlockfest coming up or something?
Yeah, we have a Schlockfest where Jean-Paul still won't tell me what it is. So.
I may know what that is, but I cannot reveal.
I'm not allowed to know, and he's got a special guest for that. And I'm trying to get Jake to do an Area 42, so we'll see what happens.
We can do it over this. He doesn't have to be on camera.
He doesn't have the capabilities for this, he claims.
He doesn't have a phone or a
He has a phone
computer?
that will not do this correctly. So, I don't know, but we'll see what happens.
Weird.
I'm going to try to do it the old style way where we record with my phone, like the audio.
Oh, okay. That might work.
But other than that, no, I'm going to be indisposed at work for the next 2 weeks. So training newbies.
Well, that'll be fun for you. Anyways, guys, go check out the videos on the War YouTube channel. There's a ton of good stuff on there. Ripper does commentary on several matches. It's a fun time. Get some tickets when they go live again. And Corey, I want to thank you for being on.
Anytime, guys. I can talk about movies and comic books and wrestling shit till we all die.
Yeah.
Nice.
Definitely. But thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.
I have been stabbed, shot, poisoned, frozen, hung, electrocuted, and burned. Every morning I wake up without a scratch on me, not a dent in the fender. I am an immortal.